Hello, and welcome to the official very first episode of the Building My Freedom Business podcast. Hi there, my name is Eric. My full name is Eric Wachter, but you can forget about that surname. Just let's stick to Eric. That will work. And I interview entrepreneurs and speak to them about their background journey. Have they always been an entrepreneur? How did they end up doing what they're doing right now and taking a deep dive into their business, really learn about their products and their resources and their services. And today's guest, his name is Steve Mastroianni. And Steve, I have to say, if you're listening, I really enjoyed our chat. You were such a cool, relaxed guy. And it is actually because of Steve that I have decided to also launch these episodes on YouTube. I was worried because I was recording it in a place where it looked messy in the background, but he said, who cares? Let's just throw it out there. So if you are interested in that, you can go to YouTube and go to Building My Freedom Business, find the channel, and it should be up there. But with Steve, I take him through his background journey. How did he end up starting his organization called Rockstar Mind, which you can find at rockstarmind.com. With Steve, I talk about how him and his band got signed by a very famous person from the band Kiss, but also how, because of family reasons, he had to leave that career behind. And there he was, and he had to figure out a way to still earn money. And we go deep into that. And Steve is also the author of the book, Hobby Boss. And the subtitle of Hobby Boss is Turn Your Passion into Profits Online. And we talk about some strategies that he writes about in this book. So I truly hope that you enjoy this interview. And if you do, then please share it with your friends. Find the place where you can follow the podcast. And it is my desire to really serve you with some incredible, exciting interviews over the coming months. So here it is, Steve Mastroianni. Enjoy. All right. I want to welcome my guest. And my guest today is, and I have to look at his name because I'm not so good at surnames, as people who have listened to other episodes who have listened, but it is Steve Mastroianni. Please help me out. Is that all right?
That was great. Yeah, Mastroianni.
Steve has an incredible history, which he's going to tell us about in a moment. He's not just been an entrepreneur, he's also been a musician, and he's possibly still is a musician. But Steve is also the author of 2 books, and one of those books is called Hobby Boss, Turn Your Passion into Profits Online. And we're going to take a bit of a deep dive in some of these aspects in that book. It speaks to me because I love the concept of people finding the opportunity to turn that passion into their hobbies. But Steve, before we go into that area, I would really like you to share a bit about the background. Where do you come from? What did you do before you were an entrepreneur? Have you always been an entrepreneur? And just give us a sort of 2-minute version of that story.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks so much for having me, Eric. The short story is I've always been pretty creative, but I'd say that my background is in music. I got into music when I was a kid and taught myself how to play drums, and then that led to writing songs on guitar, and which led to getting into bands and starting different bands, which led to a major label record deal, which led to touring. And before I go further with that, I was always entrepreneurial. Like, I wasn't the artsy type of creative. I was more of I was very entrepreneurial, where I always saw that something would lead to something else, and I'd also, even as a kid, I'd reverse engineer things. The whole reason I picked up a guitar was because I wanted to travel and travel the world, really. And the easiest way for me to do that, like, I thought, okay, well, if I just do that with other people, if I then maybe I put a band together and we tour, and then but I can't really do that. Like if I put a band together, and maybe I might need to write songs, but I can't do that on drums, so maybe I'll pick up a guitar. And so my buddy had a guitar, I learned how to
Yeah.
play guitar, and then kind of one thing led to the next. And so very entrepreneurial. And I toured the world with the person who signed my band was Gene Simmons, out of all people. Gene
Yeah.
Simmons from Kiss, and we hit it off right away. And anyway, so I toured the world, or I toured North America with Kiss. I toured the world with different bands. And
Yeah.
basically the turning point of all of that, because that looks like, whoa, that's a great story, and it's only going up. But in 2013, everything turned around. My father gave me, like, he called me and he said, Steve, I just got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer.
Mm.
And right away, like, that was just okay. Well, that was fun while it lasted. I'm gonna press pause on that music career because my biggest supporter now needs my support. So
Yeah.
I became his primary caregiver in 2013, and we had 2 really great years together, ups and downs. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2015. But that the time that we had together, I wouldn't trade that for anything. That's really where the beginning of my online career started. Where even though I coached before, that's where in 2013 I was home. I wasn't touring, and I was home. I needed to do something. I needed to pay for rent. I had to buy food. I had to do something that was flexible. So that's really the beginning of my online career.
Wow. So just out of curiosity, because in my 20s, I was sort of semi-professional, also playing in a band. How did you manage? Because many bands want that contract. What was it that you guys specifically did that enabled you to get that contract, specifically with that guy from Kiss?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer to that question will actually, it's like the how you do anything's how you do everything. Like the answer to that is the same as answer I would give someone who wanted to succeed in any business. Really, is they say your network is your net worth. And so meeting different people, and this person is going to help to do this for me, and I'm going to be valuable to them, they're going to be valuable to me, and then that leads to this and this and this. So basically, the short answer is we were working with our producer at the time. His name's Gavin Brown. He was our producer, and he's produced different bands like Billy Talent and 3 Days Grace, and a lot of really different like every genre basically. And he sent our demo to a record company without us knowing. Like it wasn't like we'd be mad about it, but he was just kind of like, okay, well, this isn't even done yet, but here, have a listen to this. And it just so happened that Gene Simmons at that time was working with that record company because he wanted to come up to Canada. His wife's Canadian, and he wanted to come up to Canada to sign a band. And so basically that company was working with Gene, and it got on his desk. And then he's like, okay, sweet, I'm gonna go up to Canada. I'm gonna go to Toronto, and I want to see this band. So we get a phone call. We were in the east coast of Canada touring over there, and we get a phone call saying like, hey, you got to come back to Toronto because in 4 days Gene Simmons wants to see you guys live. And it doesn't help that when we started at that time our tour bus broke down before that tour. We had to get a van, like a regular van for that tour, and it wasn't really a great van. But it's funny because we start the van, and the transmission is broken where we can't go backwards, we could only move forward. And so it's kind of like symbolic. It's a weird sort of thing that happened there, but we had to come back, traveling like 2 days or 3 days across the country, with basically a broken van that couldn't go backwards. So we couldn't make any mistakes. We could only go forward, and we ended up going to Toronto, and we showcased for Gene. He came in, and we showcased for him. And after the show, we just hit it off. We went out for Indian food afterwards, and over dinner, we hit it off.
Did you have to pinch yourself a few times back then? I mean, I can't
Yeah,
imagine that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend like it wasn't awesome. Like I'm not gonna be like play it super cool. Like I wasn't. It's not like I was a big Kiss fan or anything like that. More a Gene Simmons fan of like what he's created as a business mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like a couple times for sure. Like I'm eating, I've got my naan bread with my whatever I was eating, the butter chicken, and I'm like looking up. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot Gene Simmons. Oh yes, that's right. I'm at dinner right now with Gene Simmons. Yeah, it was very strange.
All right. I mean, and as I was reading your book, and when you spoke about your dad, I could just sense, family relationships is quite important. And also, when I read your book and I see your story now, and I hear about your past, you were quite a driven person, or it comes across as quite. So, where does that come from? I mean, tell me a bit about the younger Steve. Have you said you've always been entrepreneurial a little bit, but the characteristics that you've got in you to really make things work and go for it and build it out and be, well, how you live your life now. Where does that come from? Who
Oh
is the
man, that's a
inspiration?
great question. I don't know if I could point that to a person. It's like when I was a kid, what's so interesting is no one in my family is really entrepreneurial. I mean, my mom a little bit, like she tried starting some businesses here and there, but she pretty much always had a job. But everyone in my family has been like education, and no one really like being a business person, like straight up like going out there and that's all I'm doing and putting
Yeah,
all on the line. But I do know that, so when my parents split up when I was 11, I do know that there was a thing that happened in my brain where I was like, okay, well, they can't really figure it out together. So even as an 11-year-old, I thought, this is up to me to be in control and make this thing happen. And it must be that, because I can't really think of any person who was like, I want to be like that. I mean, I remember my uncle, he was one of the guys who inspired me as a musician. But as an entrepreneur, I really don't know. Besides that moment, besides knowing that, like, when my house was basically broken, that, okay, well, you know what? It's up to me, because this is also why I can't have a job. Like, I can't work for someone, because I've got to be the one who's in control. And it must come from some like deep seated thing of like not wanting to fail or something like that. So yeah, and that's kind of, it's they say that people are either move towards or move away from. Move towards is like going towards a goal,
yeah,
or moving away from pain. And so I think a big part of my motivation, even when I'm super happy, is like trying to avoid some kind of catastrophic event. So it's like always pushing me forward. And a lot of people, it's like not one is good or bad. It's just, that's kind of, instead of setting a goal, it's more like solving a problem, getting away from the pain type thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, totally, totally. I want to move on to your book. For me, Hobby Boss shouts freedom business. You know, so if you hear the word freedom business, what comes up in your thinking?
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, I love those two words, because even like what I just described, the fact that like I'm doing this, I'm in control, I'm like, no one else can tell me what to do. That's
Yeah,
freedom. Like, that's me deciding, like, today I want to run a promotion where I'm going to help people do this, this, and this, and nobody else is going to tell me that that's stupid or that that's a great idea. I'm going to decide, and then I'm going to send out an email later, and there's a bunch of people who I send it out to, and then money starts to come in because of an idea that I had at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's freedom. When you could turn, like I say in my book, when you turn your passion into profits online, like,
yeah,
it's incredible what's possible these days. Online, it's incredible. You can make money in so many different ways. I just decided that running an info-based business, like where you coach people, you help people achieve a goal, I decided that is
yeah,
that's the best for me, and for a lot of people. There's no inventory, there's no shipping, no production cost, anything like that. It's instant thoughts, they're inside my mind, and then I see dollars in my bank account. That's an incredible thing. And when someone experiences that for the first time, I think they really get that taste of freedom. They
yeah.
see it.
And I'm really curious because earlier I said in our pre-chat that I listened to your interview with James Schramko from Superfast Business earlier today, which is for anyone I would highly recommend to go to that episode, because you hear stories about how you kind of written your book with your thumbs on your phone, I think. And,
Yeah,
but
yeah, while holding my twin boy. Yeah, like,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And that is the other thing that I picked up. So go to that episode 834 Superfast Business to hear a complete other side of the story. But you have twins and you have another child
Yeah,
and
three
you
years
have a
old,
wife.
yeah.
You are a guy who has so many ideas, so much energy. Can you give me a little bit of insight in your family situation? Because you must have an amazing wife who
She is, yeah.
supports you in your journey. Because I've spoken to quite a lot of entrepreneurs in interviewing them for this podcast, and every time the story comes up about that there are some challenges within the relationship, because the business is your baby, but you have your family, which is also important. So can you give me a bit of an insight of how that works?
Yeah,
Family
that's
business.
thanks for asking that. That's a great question, and I haven't really been asked that much. Yeah, my wife is amazing. It's funny because so we're both Italian, like our background is Italian, and
Yeah,
so we get into some arguments. I mean, and we're both very passionate. And on the surface, that might look like, well, wait a second, why are you two together? And it's actually a really good business lesson too, because business is just relationships anyway. Having someone who does what you don't do or can't do
yeah.
is very important. What my wife does, the way she thinks,
Mm,
it's not like how I think. And this is a whole kind of like opposites attract, but it's also I've seen this in other parts of my life, even in my band. My singer, I saw the same thing, that he would ask me to do something and I'd kind of be a little bit annoyed because it wouldn't necessarily be exactly how I would do it, or I might do it at a later time,
yeah,
but he kind of sort of forced me, not forced me, but like playfully forced me, like, or like it was helpful that it's like I moved out of my dad's house to go into an apartment for the first time, and it's like, oh, now I've got to figure out how to pay rent, and it's like, but that pushed me, it made me grow. My wife, if she didn't say, like, I want to have kids, and if she didn't kind of give that little bit extra nudge there, then I probably would have waited a little bit longer. But what's interesting is, okay, well, first, I love my kids, I love my family.
yeah,
What's amazing is, as soon as we had kids, as soon as my daughter was born,
yeah.
everything changed. My responsibility, everything, my productivity just skyrocketed. And so what's amazing about that is, and I joked about this on James's podcast, is sleep deprivation is an amazing
Yeah.
life hack. I used to be a perfectionist, and it would really slow me down. And as soon as I had kids, it's like I just started moving super fast, because I'm not, no pun intended, but basically I there's no time to screw around. Like, I have to provide for this, for my family, and also that part of my brain is basically not working where I'm a perfectionist. I don't have the energy for it. So I'm moving super fast and getting things done. And that's really when I discovered, like, oh, this is better. This is the better way to do it. So to answer your question of what my family life is like, what my house is like, it's chaos. We were locked down before COVID even hit. We were locked down. We had twins in February of 2020. So that was before COVID even hit.
Yeah.
We were locked down before that, and that was, last year was not only one of my most productive years, where I wrote a 500-page book basically, with my thumbs, while running my business and trying to keep my family fed, but
Yeah.
also it was also the highest revenue year of my business. And so I'm not saying that to brag. What I'm saying is that it's some of the chaos is good for you. Some of that, it is like, life doesn't work. Life isn't like a TV show. You know what I mean? It's like that you have to accept the way things are, in the sense of like, okay, this is the situation. How do I win? Not will I win, or like, is
Yeah.
it possible? It's how do I win? And so it's about, even like the month leading up to the book release of Hobby Boss, my wife was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and I was with my mother-in-law taking care of the kids, trying to run my business, trying to get the book launched. And so it's
Yeah.
like, it's not, can I do this? It's how can I do this?
Yeah. And you really helped me actually with that comment about lack of sleep. I used to be really frustrated with these entrepreneurs who have no kids and say, oh, you need sleep and you need, and I thought, man, just stand in my shoes, with my child with autism, I had nights, well, for the first 9 years of his life, he never would sleep in his own bed. And if we tried it, it was 27 times a night that he would come out.
Yeah.
And so I was a bit angry, but hearing your comment, it kind of made me realize you're so right. I was so super productive in the 2 or 3 hours that I did have
I
in the
love
day.
that.
And,
I
and
love
so,
that.
yeah, totally right there. Um, so your book, it is a big book, a lot of pages, a lot of content. And it was also the moment that I realized that I needed reading glasses. So you helped me there as well. But
Very cool,
I,
man.
I just want to take a moment to take a deep dive, or as much time as we got, in two concepts in your book. And one is the concept of, you call it going free deep. And the other one is called the 5 market must-haves. And I don't want you to discuss all 5, but let's just focus on the concept of going free deep.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to say that both of those concepts, so I didn't create either of the concepts. The three deep concept, I've just heard in marketing circles. The five market must haves, that is from one of my friends, mentors, and also a hobby boss himself, Ryan Levesque. Great
Yeah,
guy,
yeah,
so talented. And his book, Choose, I highly recommend that you check that out if you want to dive deeper into the five market must haves. What I'll say about three deep is when you're so Hobby Boss is basically a book that is showing you how to take your hobby, something that you already know how to do, or something that you're passionate about, and teaching other people, coaching other people to achieve their goals with that. So, for example, if you want to teach hockey or knitting or guitar or anything like people, you could call anything a hobby these days. So you take that, and instead of just saying, okay, well, I want to be a guitar coach, okay, or I want to be an example I used in the book was helping people with like dog training, let's say. So
yeah,
dog
yeah,
training,
yeah,
you could say dog training, but the people like that's too general. Like trying to help people, it's not even going to be exciting from your potential customers' standpoint. Like, well, dog training, okay, well, there's a million different dog trainers. What you do with three deep, the concept goes where so the first level is dog training. You want to go deeper than that. Okay, so what can I do? Well, maybe it's dog training for seniors. Maybe
yeah,
you're a coach who helps seniors train dogs. Like, so if let's just say someone is retired and they get a dog for companionship,
yeah,
you help retired seniors with their dogs. Okay, cool. Now that's one more level deep. So now you're on the second level, okay? The third level is where, and second level, you could be good. They could
yeah,
actually
yeah,
be good there. But very
yeah,
often people go to the third level because that third level is where that's your business. That's you. It's only you there, and no one else can compete with you. And so that would be maybe like seniors in California. You're the person in California, like who is the go-to expert. And you only help people in California, and the reason for that is because you understand the climate, you understand the breeds of dog that's there. Or you could even, by the way, you could say like retired seniors who have Labradors, a
yeah,
specific
yeah,
breed. So there's different, like you keep making it more specific each level so that you differentiate yourself. It's like a heart surgeon, like it's a specialist. And when you're a specialist rather than a generalist, just like a family doctor,
yeah,
when you're a specialist, you can make more money, you can get better results for people, and it's something that, again, it's not required. You might be able to get by as just like helping people to knit in general. You just
yeah,
help
yeah,
people knit.
yeah,
But when you help people knit, sweaters for babies, for their grandchildren, and you only help grandmothers, with knitting for their grandchildren, like that will differentiate you
yeah.
from the pack. And when it comes to marketing, you need that differentiation. There's so much noise out there, and so three deep is basically that. What it comes down to is the specialist very often makes more money, and you could charge higher prices.
And I assume it's a very vital element to take this step in consideration, because if you miss that step and you go way too broad, you run into problems. So
For
yeah,
sure, and also the opposite too. If you because there's a lot of we're really scientists, so you're
yeah, yeah,
experimenting. So it's good to know each level because you put stuff out there, and maybe going too specific is actually not good either. And so you might find somewhere in the middle. But it's a thought exercise. You have to go through that to see
yeah,
maybe like because maybe in your market, maybe going general, maybe there aren't that many competitors in there, and so maybe it's enough to just go even broad. But I would say probably in the second or third level is where you'll find what you need.
yeah, yeah. Many thanks for that explanation. I'm actually going through it with my wife right now. She supports, empowers, and equips parents who have children with autism to unlock their child's potential. But it's really broad. So we're now zooming in. We're
Hmm.
now taking a deep dive into, okay, should we just focus on connection, making friendships and stuff
Yeah,
like that?
love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So,
have the right you have the right idea. Like, yeah, it's one aspect.
yeah,
Focus on one aspect first, because like what's cool is that when you focus on that one aspect, you can build an entire business, but also once you get your business going, you could then expand further. Like maybe now you get into some more general stuff or even another specific category. And so yeah, but it's really good to pinpoint. It's easier for you too to
yeah,
focus on that one thing and to be the expert on that one thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's not always that you arrive straight away at that point. It's,
No, no, no. You gotta, this business is all
yeah,
about doing business.
yeah,
And like, so I heard an amazing quote from Tim Grover. He's got a great book called Winning. And by the way, I don't care about promoting other people's stuff when I'm talking about my book, because my book promotes so many people's things. I didn't come up with all the concepts in my book. I'm promoting all the things that worked for me building my business.
yeah, yeah,
And but Tim Grover, great quote. He said, he goes, so in school, the test comes after the lesson.
yeah,
In life and in business, the test comes before the lesson.
yeah,
I thought that, like, that's so profound, because think about that. Like, so when you're doing business, you're going to be tested all the time, okay? But the lesson of, oh, I should be focusing on parents with children with autism between the ages of 8 and 12 who want to form social
yeah,
connections.
yeah, yeah.
I should do that, because you learned through working with different people and through all the research and all the experience. That's how you get to the end result.
Mm. Yeah, thanks for that.
You're
The
welcome.
next bit from your book that really spoke to me, I haven't read it all, but that part I did. It's the 5 market must-haves.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know, I think if you're starting a hobby business, those 5 are really, really important. Can you maybe mention 2 or 3
for
from
sure, for
them
sure.
to
Definitely, yeah.
explain a bit more about that concept?
Definitely. And once again, so Ryan Levesque, choose. That's where this came from. And Ryan was always, he was a mentor for me for many years, and really talented. And so the market must-haves are just things that you want to look for in a market that you're going to pursue. And
Yeah,
what's cool about a hobby business, so a hobby-based business, is that's going to take care of one of the must-haves for sure, which is, one of the must-haves is, you have to be selling to people who are passionate, like
yeah,
who are fanatics about something. And so, for example, like guitar or sports, like whatever you're talking about with hobbies, you already got that built-in passion
yeah,
there. And also, very often there's another must-have that's there, which is, you want to focus on an evergreen market. So that's a market that isn't going away quickly. Like, so guitar will be around for years. It hasn't really changed in the last 50 years. It's here to stay. So going to something that has been around and will be around for a while. And also, another good thing is going ideally to markets that have people who have money there. Like Gary Halbert, he calls them players with money. So it's like, you want to go, because in guitar is a good one, because people will buy an expensive guitar, and it's like they'll go, like golf is another really good one. They'll buy expensive stuff. Yeah, those I'd say are 3 key factors. And I'll add one, because I did add one inside the book. So I'd say, like, there's a 6th one that Ryan didn't have in his book Choose, but I call it Pro Caliber. If you can go to a market where someone could become a professional in it. So, like, for example, if you are really good at cooking and you create a course, or you coach people to become better cooks, then they can actually use those new skills that they developed, and then they can go work for a restaurant. They can use that to actually make money. So when you have your certification program, for whatever your business is called, certification, and you charge, let's say, $300 or $3,000, well, now someone could see that and be like, okay, well, I'm going to invest $3,000 in this, because this is going to allow for me to get a job with a restaurant, where then I'll have a return on my investment. So typically with, like, when I teach guitar players how to play, or when I teach people how to write songs,
yeah,
it's mostly from a passion, like a hobby standpoint, where they're going to do it and they're not going to make any money back.
yeah,
But if you get this Pro Caliber, I've also taught people who want to start their own guitar coaching business, where they do make money, or I help people with songwriting, where they can make money later. And so you want to look for something like a Rubik's Cube. If you are good at Rubik's Cube and you coach people on
yeah,
Rubik's Cubes, you can't really make money on that unless maybe they enter a competition. So that wouldn't be the best example of Pro Caliber. But if you could think of something, of a market where it could possibly be a profession for them, then that is just one extra level, where in the future you can have
yeah.
certification programs and things like that.
Wow. I can picture people listening to this who are not going, hobbies, hobbies. What are our hobbies?
For sure.
People with hobbies, where do they get their income stream from? Okay, I've got a hobby, I'm going to do something, but tell me, what sort of income streams do people end up with?
Yeah, so typically, well, okay, there's multiple. I mean, like very often someone thinks about hobbies and they're like, okay, well, cool. Well, I'm going to sell jewelry on Etsy, or I'm going to get into Amazon. I'm going to sell, whatever, hockey sticks on
Yeah,
Amazon, or soccer balls on Amazon. And what I coach people on, for the best, I think the best and fastest way to make money is to help other people to achieve their goals. So it's information business. Like basically it's a coaching business. And that, I think, because anything could be considered a hobby. And one of the reasons why I wrote this book is because I know that a lot of people, especially like the timing was crazy with COVID, because I knew a lot of people would be
yeah,
losing their
yeah,
jobs, that they'd be looking to, I need to get training. Like if they lost their job, then it's like I got to get training so that I could get a new job, or I got to like switch my career. And instead of looking, like what they did, they looked outwards rather than looking inwards and seeing like, I'm already good at this, or I'm already passionate about jewelry, or this or that.
yeah,
And so I wanted to create these tools, a toolbox for people to know that, whoa, I actually have something of value that I could help people with. But I just help to fill in that blank where it's
yeah,
like, if you just have an iPhone to record a video course, or if you have Zoom to hop on a call with someone and coach them, maybe they're paying you $60 per session. You can monetize your hobby by helping someone else to
yeah,
achieve their goals with that hobby.
yeah. I mean, there's so much we could talk about, and one thing that really jumped out, I would highly recommend for people to go and buy this book. Because if people like Ryan, people like James Schramko, people like Frank Kern are willing to endorse this book,
Mhm.
then and that's something I'm taking away from you. Somehow you've managed to connect to the right people in life,
Yeah.
and I mean that is definitely something that almost could be like your next product. How to do that, because I want to learn. I really want to learn that.
Always keep your antenna up. Like I said at the beginning, always keep your antenna up for different opportunities, different people who you
Yeah,
offer value to them, and then they offer value to you. Those
yeah, yeah,
connections are everything,
yeah, yeah. I have two tiny little things left for you.
for sure.
We connected because we're both in the Superfast Business community.
Yeah.
Uh, Tell me, how has it been beneficial for you to be part of that community?
Oh man, I mean, well, first of all, James, I met him in 2016, and we connected right away. I just knew like this is a guy that I need to have in my life for a long time, and I joined his community, and you attract people who
Yeah,
like it's very similar people, right? So there's then we met, and I met a lot of different people. My first book was written because I was inspired by an email that came from Superfast
yeah,
Business. So yeah, I mean it's you got to surround yourself with winners. That's really what it comes down to, because you get that side effect of, okay, cool, well, like this is my influence, so I become better because of it.
yeah. Thank you for that. Last little bit, future you. Tell me, if I would meet you in 3 years' time, what's going on in your life? I know you can't predict it, but you must have some kind of plan with Hobby Boss. What comes out of this? Give me a little picture of that.
For sure, yeah. So the master plan. I mean, in 3 years, I'm probably so what? That's 2024. So I released the second book in the series of Hobby Boss.
All
I
right,
released the second book. My business is from multiple six figures to now it's seven figures, multiple seven figures, and I'm probably stressed out because I just finished releasing my second book, and the third book I already know what it's going to be, but I'm going to be saying like no, I'm going to put that off. 2025 is when I'm going to outline it, blah 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 blah. So yeah, the series is going there, and I'm going to be, yeah, by then, I mean, hoping helping hundreds of hobby bosses
I
for
know
sure.
you need some extra funds for the,
Yeah, no more kids. No.
for the yeah.
The kids are done. Yeah. No more kids.
All right. If people want to learn more about you, they can find the book at hobbybossbook.com.
Yes.
If people want to just reach out to you to say hi, thank you for the interview, it was interesting, or thank you for the book, where can people reach you? Give us.
Yeah, for sure. I would say, you could find me on Facebook. You might need some help with the last name, but I would say just Steve. So Steve at
Yeah,
rockstarmind.com. So the Rockstar Mind is my company. So Steve at rockstarmind.com. That's my personal email. Shoot me an email and say hi.
fantastic. Steve, I have been looking forward to this chat since I started reading your book. I thought, yeah, I want to talk to that guy. So thank you so much, man. Appreciate
Thanks
you.
so much for having me,
I
man.
appreciate your energy and your willingness to chat with me today. So I'm
Thank
going
you.
to say goodbye to you. I wish you a really good day. And yeah, I'm going to follow you around and see what's happening. What's next for Steve?
Cool.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Take care, man.
Thank you.
Okay, man. I hope you enjoyed this interview. Steve, you were such an amazing guest. I love your story. You have such heart for your family. You're a true family man. And I just still picture that I've got this picture in my head of you writing your book, on your phone with your thumbs. That will stick with me, because that is determination. And I just want to encourage everyone that if you want to get Steve's book, Hobby Boss, go to Amazon and you can get it there. And if you want to know more about Steve, go to rockstarmind.com. Steve, I really enjoyed our talk. If anyone enjoyed this conversation, then maybe you could, follow the podcast, Building My Freedom Business, share it with your friends. It will be a great encouragement for me. It is, like I said, my purpose to share many entrepreneurial stories with you, to inspire you in your journey. Tomorrow, which is Wednesday, the 18th of August, as this week, I am actually launching 4 podcasts as like the launch week of the podcast. Tomorrow, I'm talking to Gert Mellick from SEO Leverage, where we take a deep dive into, you guess it, SEO. All right, have a really good day, and I see you all tomorrow. Take care.